Hi guys, Nozelingus here from SMP Screen Image Production. This video is not a tutorial, but rather an awareness and educational listening about mastering. So, what's mastering? Mastering is the definition of the action to master a track and moreover to conform it according to a specific type of diffusion. In simple words, it means we apply different settings regarding if it's a CD, streaming, broadcasting, or clubs. Plus, the aim of calling a mastering engineer is when you send several tracks for a CD release, the job will be to conform all these tracks and make them homogeneous. So here, I took a pop rock song from a band called Hemingway for the purpose of this video. Thanks a bunch guys for letting me use one of your songs, I appreciate a lot. I realized the mastering for the next EP, which will be released soon, and I really encourage you to discover them. I will put all the links into the description. So I will compare the master files I've done with online mastering services such as Land and Air, which is already known by several people, and eMastered, a website I discovered a couple of days ago. And this last one is quite interesting. To go back to LNR, it's free, I put quotation here, as long as you want to receive MP3 in 192 kilobits. So concretely, it means it's shit. Yeah, let's say it, it's a shit. Sorry, I apologize, I'm talking really bad. Anyway, however, like what I've done here, if you want to receive a non-compressed format, such as WAV, it costs 10 bucks, so that is not really free, to be honest. Plus you have to pay 6 bucks per month or 4 bucks per month for an annual subscription. And about eMastered, actually it's free, but not for long. Can I sort of advertising to let them know, I suppose. So they provide HD mastering in 24 bits, which is quite interesting by the way, but I will go back to this topic later in the video and I will explain you why. And also they provide HD MP3 too, so I guess it's 320 kilobits. But don't get me wrong guys, I'm not here to bury this kind of services which deserve to exist for free. I mean, they match a certain category of people who don't want to spend a damn on it for X reason. And I don't blame them at all, as it happens that I don't want to work with them anyway, because I build my services. But the goal of the video here is to make you hear and feel the difference between these online services and what they provide for a few bucks, and a real engineer who can add a real value to your tracks. So, to realize those listening tests, I use a fabulous Perception plugin from Jan Schifferd, which costs 150 bucks. Yeah, kinda expensive, I have to admit. Nonetheless, it's fan-fucking-tastic, because it doesn't fool you with the idiom louder is better. And after, I use the pregain function built in Cubase Pro so that I've matched the level manually for the same RMS level all along. Plus, it will help me switching between these tracks for the end of this video. I know I may sound a bit picky, but trust me, 1 dB makes a huge difference. Anyway, I stop here with the blah blah stuff, but I wanted to be crystal clear for the content and explanations you'll find within this video. Now let's have a listen to the mix Hemingway sent me. The song is called La Poursuite.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous donne enfin.
So it's a pop rock mix pretty well balanced in my opinion. After listening to it, I wanted to add a bit of corrective EQ in order to clean the low mids because of the which remains, and giving more punch to the vocal and snare by using multiband compression. This is a mix I sent to LNR and where I paid $10 for getting a 16 bits mastered file. Let's have another listen and compare it at the same level as the original mix.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous donne enfin.
Now I will use the bypass FX function of the Perception plugin, which allows me to switch between the original mix and the master at the same level.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous donne enfin.
After listening and in order to give you proper feedback, I would say there was a soft EQ work, mainly on the bass to give more punch, and after it has simply been pushing through a limiter to get a commercial level. Actually quite nice, because I asked for a medium setting, so that we are between -10 and -11 dB RMS, which is good because it doesn't affect the dynamic too much. So we'll have another listen. I will continue to bypass the plugin and I will ask you to focus on the lows of the spectrum, especially the bass.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala.
So here's the result you can get for $10 by using LNR services. Now let's jump to the e-mastered version. Same here, it's a free online mastering service which proposes HD mastering, which means 24 bits file. As I said at the beginning of this video, it's quite interesting because the original mix I sent was a 16-bit file, and they provided me a 24 bits file. Yeah, you guys rock. No, really, I'm flabbergasted. Sorry, it was just a funny joke, but what I wanted to say is I think if I send them a MP3, and I will do this test to be sure, I'm pretty sure it will provide me a 24 bits file as well. So in my opinion, it's not really serious. Anyway, let's have another listen and I will analyze it right after.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous donne enfin.
Well, pretty cool result to be honest. So now I will use the bypass FX function of the plugin in order to make a comparison with the original mix.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative.
Here we can definitely say there were a real EQ job with the lows to give more biff. To the vocals too, in order to make it stand out more. And same with compression, where we hear that the snare has more punch too. Try to focus on these details again.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde,
As I said, I find it quite cool because we have a real value compared to the original mix file, especially for free, at least for the moment, because it will become a paid service in the next future. And now, ladies, let's dive into my job. Just kidding, no worries. For my part, I've decided to use a mid-side technique here for that track. Why? Just because this is a technique I like very much and I know pretty well too. Plus because it allows me to get more controls with the middle and the sides. It also allows me to highlight certain parts of the mix the way I want. So let's have a listen.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous tourne enfin.
Same joke as before here, I will use the bypass function in order to compare it with the original mix and to see what I've done here. Then I will provide you an analyze.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous donne enfin.
We will have another lesson and now I will ask you to focus on the instrumental places like bass, vocal, snare and stereo pred compared to the original mix.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous tourne.
Here I found we get a real value compared to the original mix. The instruments like vocal and snare have way more punch and depth, because each of them have their respective places. In fact, it's because I've used some EQ and multiband compression differently on the middle and on the sides, which allows me to ally different elements within the mix. It also demands me a lot for volume, stereo and FX automations too. This is something I do all the time because I want to bring some life into and I want it to be interesting all along. I want the listener to feel a sensation that something is happening all along, that it rocks, like their movements and their dynamics. And at the end, this is the goal which I wanna reach every time when I master a song. About the last version, which is called V2, this is an additional version the band asked me because they found the first one very good. However, it missed a bit of bass and bite compared to the original mix. And it was something we lost during the processing, so they asked me to give it more balls inside. And this is what makes a difference between an algorithm of an online mastering and a real mastering engineer. I mean, with a real person, we can define several artistic sides and take several paths. So let's have a listen to that version with more balls.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la nuit qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous tourne enfin.
Same fun here, I'm gonna switch between my master and the original mix.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde.
And now I'm gonna switch between all of them in order to make you feel and hear the differences and subtleties inside.
Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la vie qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous tord l'enfant. Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la vie qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous tord l'enfant. Une carte colle de tes membres qui transpire la seconde, ainsi que toutes les peines du monde. Et que la vie qui passe n'est trop loin. Chalala, une alternative. Et que le temps qui trace nous tord l'enfant.
This is the end of this video. I hope it helped you to understand and hear all the subtleties you can find between an algorithm and a real work made by the mastering engineer. If you have any question, feel free to send a mail at info@screamingmatchproduction.com. See you soon, guys!